LeBron James because he's the greatest basketball player of all time.
I swear to God, like I've asked you probably like 40 rapid fire questions, and your answer to 10 of them have been LeBron James.
But it's a genuine answer because, like, and also, you know how like they say the Mount Rushmore of basketball, and also he might run for president. You never know.
I swear to God, I'm just gonna give up on like politics if you answer.
I got hit by a bus once.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Making the Right Play. I'm your host Ishii with my co-host.
Manit.
Today we have another special guest on the podcast. Welcome, Ishini. How are you doing?
I'm good.
So Ishini is a very impressive person. She's a junior at Cornell, studying math with a concentration in computer science, and also studying performing and media arts. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, and uh, Manit is has been a friend of Ishini for a long time, and I think he could give us a better kind of overview of her and what makes her so impressive and why we brought her on the podcast. Really,
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of Ishini for a while, and she's always been like impressive. She's always been like involved in one thing or the other, and like you always hear some form of news about her when you're in Sri Lanka. But yeah, like I think like I had a lot of conversations with Ishini about like how she got into like school and you know how Cornell is and whatnot, and we kind of like go through our university lives to get together whenever we like have wins and losses kind of thing. So I think the one thing that our viewers would kind of like appreciate is like knowing how like your life is at Cornell and like how things are on the inside and like you know because I feel like it's very hard to get like a real picture from like you know all the university brochures and just like random YouTube videos and stuff. I think I just want like a real representation of like how Cornell is and how your life is at Cornell and what you like and what you dislike about it.
Right. So Cornell from the get-go is very different to most universities because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, Ithaca, and
Yeah.
in because a lot of students just go to universities in cities, right? So basically Ithaca is just like a rural area, and it's very different in the sense you're just kind of like walking past waterfalls every day to get to class, and there's all kinds of wildlife all over, deer, skunks, and it's just like you're living in the middle of the woods, which is an interesting experience.
Yeah.
um like the people are great, the professors are great. It honestly it's a really nice place to go to school. I genuinely enjoy living, like, being there. I guess the bad side would be like something I wish I knew coming in is how competitive it is, because
Mhm.
everyone's so smart. Like, you think you're smart until you get there, and then everyone's just like this crazy genius, and you're like, I feel really stupid when I'm there. And I think like imposter syndrome is like a big
Imposter
thing, I
syndrome.
feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and honest, especially in the engineering school, because everyone's kind of fighting for the same job, right? Like, everyone wants to work at Google, Facebook, Amazon, all those places. So no one's so it's just, especially for coursework, like, people are really not willing to help each other out.
Okay.
It's kind of, yeah, like, I yeah, they're very they're just competitive. So that's not that good. Also, just, and the workload in general at Cornell is very high, which doesn't bode well, especially with the weather in Ithaca, because it's so cold and raining all the time. So I feel like it's more depressive sometimes on some days. And then
Mm.
and there's also like there's also grade deflation, right, which is like a big problem. So I'm just going to explain grade deflation really quickly. So the way you get grades in courses is like based off a curve, right? So they mark the median at a specific grade. So in schools that have grade inflation, the median would be marked at like an A minus, so half the class would get A's. Whereas in schools like Cornell that have grade deflation, the median grade is marked at like a B minus, so half the class would get C's and D's and lower, and only a very small amount would get A's. So because of that, especially because people who come to schools like Cornell did really well in high school, like they were
Yeah.
straight A students and all. So when they come in to uni and they get C's and D's, it's like a big for
Shock.
them. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like it's a huge shock, and they don't know what to do, and that's why Cornell's kind of known for suicides. Like there's a
Okay.
whole Wikipedia page for it. It's not good. So I guess yeah, that's kind of a tough situation there. Yeah.
Yeah. How you managed like across the last 2 years? Like, are you happy with how you done? And like, I'm just curious.
I'm I'm generally like I'm very laid back in the sense I don't
Yeah.
really care about a lot of things. Like at this point, I'm just like I just want to graduate. I don't care about my grades.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like I've been that way for the longest time, so getting a C isn't the biggest shock for me. And but I think it honestly just depends on the person because I've seen people who've had full on breakdowns just because they got like a B,
Okay.
which freaks me out. Like, oh my god, chill. Like I've had like this is one real interaction that I had my freshman year. So we had a math exam, we had a midterm. I got an 85 and I thought that was good. And this one I bump into this one kid. He comes up to me, he's
Oh
like, I
yeah.
did really badly. He's
Yeah.
like, I did so badly. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I think I did okay. And then he was like, oh, how much do you get? Then I said, I got an 85. And this kid just like doesn't say anything. And I'm like, wait, what's up? He's like, oh, I got a 96.
Okay.
And just,
Okay.
I'm like, what? You think that's bad? And
Yeah.
it's not just that kid. There's just so many who have that
Mm.
mindset. And it's like, why?
Yeah. 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 That's true.
Honestly, I think that's like super unhealthy, and like I feel like a lot of people don't realize when they go to colleges like this, like your environment is severely different to what you had when you were in high school, right? Instead
Right.
of being among like instead of randomly sampling from the average kind of like population, you're randomly sampling from like the genius, like superstars in high school, right? So now
Mhm.
you're competing with that kind of cohort, and it's important to realize that even if you get like a C or even a D, right? You got a C or a D like on a curve with like the best in the world, and honestly, like it's not something to be ashamed of. I mean, if I got a B, I'd be kind of proud of it. Like just like from the outside looking at it, like it's. I think that's like a really unhealthy mindset that some people have, and it's important. And like, yeah, it's good that you recognize it, and so on. It's just a really weird issue because like here at Stanford, like some programs, like you said, we have. I think Stanford's more known for like grade inflation in like the like for some majors, but
Right.
for so I'm in physics and like one of the thermal classes I took freshman year, the first midterm, the average for that midterm it was scored out of 45. The average, like the median was 16 out of 45. So like I looked at that, I was like, when that was announced in class, I was just like, wait, what, right? But it's just like, yeah, there are moments like that, and I think you need to like really reframe your like whole like thought process when it comes to these things, and I think it's like it's healthy to like consider it from the perspective of like like I just want to like try and I just want to get out of here and not put too much emphasis on like what the paper says at the end of the day, right? But yeah, do
Yeah.
you so that's an interesting story about like the math mindset. So I think I've had similar experiences to that. But do you want to talk about your journey to Cornell? And I know Manit told me a little bit about this, but you've had like you had like an impressive high school resume, and you did all these different things. And I know Manit met you through some of those mediums. And do you want to talk about like what you did in high school and during the application cycle, how that kind of thing like help you separate yourself from the rest of the pack? And yeah.
I think academically I was pretty good in high school. Like I got straight A's and all that. And so thing with even academics is like everyone applying already has straight A's. So if you want to stand out academically, you need like extra stuff. So I got a gold medal in Sri Lanka for a science Olympiad, and then through that I got to represent Sri Lanka in the International Science Olympiad, and then there I got like a bronze medal. So I feel like that really boosted up my application a lot. I also got to represent Sri Lanka for a robotics Olympiad in the US, which is a fun experience. So I think stuff like that just kind of help your application stand out. Which so I honestly just apply for all these Olympiads. They're fun. Well, I think they're fun because I don't know. I just enjoy doing stuff like that. And it honestly just looks good on your resume and really helps you stand out. other than that, I did a ton of extracurriculars. I um and uh honestly, okay, so thing is, what everyone needs to realize is that everyone who applies to like the top tier schools already has a perfect resume in terms of grades, right? Like everyone has a 4.0 GPA. Thing is, your goal here is to stand out in a way where it's like, oh, I'm not just this one dimensional character who only gets good grades. Like my entire life is getting good grades. That's not that that's not that great, because like who really are you? That doesn't really show who you are as a person. So I think extracurriculars really show off your interest that way. If you're into music, then cool, play a bunch of instruments, do choir, show off that side of you. And then when it comes to like essay writing, I think that's the fun part. Like I enjoyed writing my essays because honest, because you kind of get to reflect on who you are as a person, which was enjoyable, because you're really kind of figuring out who you are, right? And then it's just like the task is to just try to show off your personality in like what, less than 1,000 words, which is hard, but also just the but also you just kind of realize that you realize ways to just get rid of things that you don't need, because what I noticed was a lot of people tend to write about their accomplishments in their essays. Like, yeah, no, don't do that. You've already highlighted that in the rest of your application. Like the admissions officers already know you have good grades, they already know you did this and that and that. The point of the essay is to show off your personality, who you are. So in that
Yeah,
sense, like, just focus on yourself, which is and like things that shaped you as a person, like encounters in your life, things that happened to you. So that was interesting to work. Like, I think for my common app, I wrote about this incident where my brother's autistic. There was this one occasion where he got lost, like in public. Like, I think he went missing, and then we didn't know what to do, and because he didn't know, like we didn't know how to get him home. And I
yeah,
remember I just wrote about like how we managed to find him, and then through that I just kind of showed off like who I am as a person. So
mm,
yeah, it's like just pick random events in your life that seem interesting, and just, yeah, that's
yeah.
about it, I think.
That makes sense. The other thing I wanted to ask you was like, I think the pressure to kind of get into university and like the road just becomes like much tougher when you think about like financial aid and things like that. So I like and like I just wanted to know like what your decision making process was in terms of like choosing universities, and like, how did you make like wiser choices of like, because I also know that Cornell is like need based, if I'm not mistaken. So like what kind of universities would you suggest people, would you kind of push people to kind of choose, and like what kind of decisions like did you make along the process? Yeah.
So, like, applying for financial aid as the international student is really hard. So I think there's only what, 5 universities in the US that are need blind towards international students, and I think it's like Harvard, Princeton, Yale, MIT, Amherst, and they're really hard schools to get into in the first place.
Mm.
So, which makes the whole process suckier. So I'd advise, I mean, obviously try applying to those schools because they're need blind, and that way they'll only focus on you as an applicant rather than like your ability to pay. And genuinely, I'm surprised that I got into Cornell, because like I didn't expect to get in since it was need aware, and I already knew so many students who were able to pay applying from Sri Lanka, and they were like really talented. So honestly, there's like an element of luck that goes into it, I think. And yeah, just the whole process of applying for financial aid in itself is really difficult. Not just the decision part, but just applying for it, because you need so many documents. And as a
Yeah.
Sri Lankan, I realize it's really because most of us, I feel like, don't really hold on to tax documents, from
Mm.
what I know. And when you're applying, you need all kinds of like, or you need like tax returns from like the past 4 years or something. And yeah, so before applying, you need to make sure that you have everything together. That way you can actually properly apply.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think you like highlighted like such an important part of like applying to the US, like the needs why I need to wear kind of thing. Because is it true that it's five schools? Because like that seems right to me. Because when I was trying to apply, it literally everybody said, "Oh yeah, we needs blind to local students, but not to international students." And like
Yeah.
when you're sending that application and you want to apply for, like, you have to click like you have to decide like, is it even worth applying to it? It's like a I don't know. It's a weird decision to make. And when I applied, I had to make those same decisions. And yeah, but it's important to think about it. And yeah, 100%. So after you got into Cornell, you initially you were more on like a straight math kind of trajectory, and then eventually you
Right.
kind of it fell into CS and you started enjoying CS. Do you want to talk about like why you started off with math and what affinity you felt for math and how that eventually became this kind of mixed interest with computer science?
So I actually came in as a math and physics double major, and then I ended up taking an honors class my first semester for physics, and it was insane. And I just kind of decided, hey, no, physics is not for me. I do not want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
Because and I noticed that like the other students in that honors class were just so much more into it than I was. Like they had like a genuine passion for the subject. I felt like I didn't match up in that sense, so I just kind of decided to drop it. And so I'm not majoring in CS. What my so I'm my concentration in my math major is in CS. So basically, at Cornell, if you're majoring in mathematics, you have to pick a concentration. There's like I think the options are there's economics, there's astronomy, I think physics, CS, and a couple of others. And I picked CS because it just fit me in general. And I kind of grew up doing a lot of CS stuff because my dad's a
yeah.
software engineer, and like since I was like very small, he taught me how to code. So I had that interest already, and I did, and like I did that whole robotics Olympiad and stuff, right? So I was pretty into CS in general. So I think take and I had to take compulsory CS courses for my math major. So like after I took these courses, I just kind of realized, hey, I really like doing this. It's an interest that I have, and yeah, I just kind of slipped into it.
Like I know that you have like multiple interests, like you're also doing other performing and media arts and whatnot, and you're also like very like you're very interested in the technical side of things. So like in terms of like choosing a career, sometimes like people feel like this pressure to like make a choice, or like some people like like some people like take different routes in to like kind of mash up these interests. So like what kind of
Right.
plans do you have for your career in terms of like managing your interests, and because these could be either very vastly different things, or they could have intersections among them as fields. So like I was wondering what kind of route you wanted to take.
So I as a basic Sri Lankan
Yeah,
who's good at science and math, like in the STEM subjects, I was kind of pushed towards becoming a doctor for basically my whole life, and I thought that I wanted to be a doctor for the longest time until I was just like, wait, I don't really want to do this. This is something that's being pushed onto me,
yeah,
and that's when I decided, hey, I enjoy math, so I'm just gonna try getting into maths and seeing, hey, like where I'm gonna get with it. And f- I've been really into performing in media arts since a very young age. Like I like singing, I play a bunch of instruments, I enjoy comedy, screenwriting, that kind of thing, right? And I and growing up in Sri Lanka, I didn't think that was like that was a career option, because I was just told, hey, you should be an engineer if you're good at science, you should be a lawyer, doctor, blah blah blah. Those are the only career options available for you. But then going to the US, like going to Cornell and stuff and seeing all these other students actually doing stuff that they enjoy, I just realized I could do that too. Which and it was like a very eye-opening moment for me, because I figured I don't yeah the when I the day I decided to add PMA, performing in media art, as a major, was like, I think I was just sitting in my dorm and I tried to picture myself doing math alone for the rest of my life, and I
yeah,
felt like I'd be miserable. Like I just pictured this really depressed adult cracking numbers all day long, and
yeah,
that didn't seem fun at all. And I realized, like, even one of the main reasons why I enjoy maths, like why I enjoyed maths throughout high school and in uni, is because I got to have like a creative outlet. Like I did a lot of singing and dancing and stuff in high school, and even in uni, like I'm in an a cappella group. So that kind of thing really balanced out my life. But I feel, but after you're done with uni, you don't really get to do that, right? Like you don't have as many extracurricular options. So I feel, so I thought, hey, I'm gonna do performing and media arts. I'm gonna pursue an actual career in it. Maybe do part time. Yeah.
Okay.
That's really cool. Yeah, I feel like I had like a very similar discussion with myself because like I I wasn't super clear on my career choices in high school, but like towards the end of high school, I thought I'd like really enjoy my like being in physics, but towards like the kind of I guess like
Mhm.
junior year of college, I started to realize that I don't think I could do physics for the rest of my life. Like I enjoy learning physics, but I don't think I enjoy doing physics, and those things are like two very different kind of things. And yeah, so like now I'm having like to like find ways to like basically find intersections between the things I like and enjoy doing, which involve like conservation biology and wildlife biology, and some like some intersection with that and physics and CS. And it is a messy path, but I think down the road, if you can make it happen, you'll probably be happier than no if you like end up like taking something that's forced on you or something that you don't really enjoy doing. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of a wise choice that you made to bring PMA into your as a major. That's really cool. We have one final question that we ask all our guests, and it's kind of a weird one, so bear with me. Uh, but yeah, okay, I'm gonna pose the question now. If you could lick the foot
Okay.
of anybody in the world, dead or alive, fictional or real, I guess, and gain their power, who would it be and why? And you can define power however you like it.
Oh, fictional, right? Fictional is an option. Ooh, like someone's foot and Superman.
Superman.
Cause yeah, cause he can fly, dude. That's sick.
Okay.
Like, I'd want to
Okay.
fly.
Okay. And you also have like laser eyes as a
Also,
additional thing.
yeah, laser eyes and super strength. That's cool. Yeah, I. Wait. Can I lick like Harry Potter's foot and get like magic wand? Get like a magic wand? Is that
Okay.
possible?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
Okay, if that's
yeah,
possible, then I'd just yeah, then I just lick Harry Potter or Dumbledore, like someone from that universe. Anyone, any witch, wizard. Yeah.
Got you.
right
Got
on.
you.
Right on.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, I think that concludes this episode of Making the Right Play. Thank you, Ishini, for coming on. I think it was a very enlightening conversation about college and everything that you're doing right now. Yeah, so thanks for coming on, and to all the viewers that are have made it this far, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Making the Right Play. And cut. Thanks for listening to another episode of Making the Right Play. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Content. This will keep you posted on new episodes, bonus content, and blooper reels. We hope you make the right play.